excited tonight to hear the incredible wisdom of John Gray. You know, getting to know John this week has been quite a pleasure for all of us. And, you know, I've been a fan of your work, John, for so long. And to meet you, we just see the kind and wonderful and generous person that you are. And we're so excited to hear your beautiful presentation tonight. So without further ado, I would like to introduce John Gray, PhD.
Thank you so much. Well, first I'd like to introduce my lovely wife, Bonnie. We've been married now 31 years and happily married. Very nice. Yes, that deserves a good round of applause. We have 3 children and 4 grandchildren, and I have many, many books that we've spawned, and this is the recent one. Just came out last week, so I'm like proud father here. This is Beyond Mars and Venus, and I'll be talking about that today and in my second talk. And I thought I would just do a lot of Mars-Venus stuff in my first talk and not go beyond Mars-Venus. It's hard not to talk about your most recent book. But I'm going to just try to hold it to Men Are From Mars tonight, but already this book is creeping in. So first of all, let me ask a few questions. I'm so happy to be here with Richard, and as you know, Richard saw my potential many, many years ago and was my first big publisher. So I'm very grateful to Beyond Words. And now I have Beyond Mars and Venus, and Richard said, so I'll be ready for your next book, John, which will be way beyond So we'll see where that one goes. But who is married? Let me just see who's married in the room. So married, so that's the married people. And who's single in the room? Let me just see who's single in the room. Okay. And out of the people who are single, who's interested in finding a life partner? Okay, so all right, we're all interested in loving one. There are some that have done it, been there. That's okay too, because you know my presentation is really about understanding men and understanding women and where we come from and how we misinterpret each other. And we all have a history of relationships, which are often quite confusing. And what happened, kind of, as Sue said, when we get married, we splat. And we tend to start all together, we separate. Okay, so a lot of confusion can happen in relationships. And what I found in my work is that a lot of it comes from misinterpreting where your partner's coming from. And so tonight I'll be sharing a little bit about how we misinterpret where we're coming from. And then in my new book, Beyond Mars and Venus, it's more not just about interpreting where we're coming from, but it's where we can help our partners go. Because what's happening today is, this is 25 years after Men Are From Mars, and Men Are From Mars is still relevant. We sold 500,000 books last year.
Wow.
So it still just goes on and on, over 50 million books around the world, and you know, it's catching on with, thank you. And wherever women are educated, are independent, or can earn money, they want my book. And marriages need this book, because the dynamic of men and women dramatically changes when women are more independent. And part of what I'll talk about with Beyond Mars and Venus is that phenomenon. But it started back in the 90s, because as women were becoming, as a general theme, more independent, their needs change. And their needs become more about communication. Historically, if you go to an indigenous tribe, women never complain that men don't listen. You'll never hear that out of their mouth. Why? Because they don't care if men listen. And they know men are not going to understand them anyway. So, you know, when Bonnie and I were down in the Amazon, there's the community center where everybody goes at night in a little village, and there's a big wall up. And women are out there bringing alcoholic drinks to the men to keep them subdued. And men are not allowed where the women go. They do not want men in there. You know, they're just trouble. And they want to subdue men. So telling you this story because I was having dinner tonight and had a beer, and they gave me another beer. You know, they're just like, here, have another beer. Wait a second. Just sit there in front of you, it's hard to resist. So I don't know if it's the boat or me. But anyway, so we're visiting this tribe, and we flew in a little plane that landed on a dirt strip, and then went for 3 hours or 5 hours on 3 hours on a canoe down the Amazon, then 5 hours through the jungle, and we get to this place. So this is a pretty remote place. And we go there, and the chief we're like the honored guests, and the chief brings me his wife's drink. The women all make an alcoholic drink for the men, and the way they do it is they take the cassava roots under the ground, they chew them, and they spit them out in a bowl, and then they put it under a fire and heat it up so it becomes fermented, and then it cools down and they serve it to the men. So I remember eating the chief's wife's chicha. Tasted terrible. So you have to pretend like you're drinking it. Oh, very good. Anyway, so I guess my point there is have a good relationship does require some pretending. That's exactly right. Some pretending is okay. It's okay. I was taking Penny's workshop this afternoon, and we're all talking about ways we come back into balance when we can come back into balance. And some people think about their pet, and other people think about a smell or a sound from childhood. And I was saying I'm more auditory, so sometimes Bonnie and I will be driving into San Francisco. We live outside of San Francisco on a mountain, but within 20 minutes we're in the middle of the city. So we go there for the theater and sometimes restaurants. But I don't like living in the city personally. But so my technique is when I have to do something I don't like, as I say to Bonnie, I said, so right now I'm going to pretend. I just love going into the city. Isn't it fun? And look at all the beautiful buildings. And I just talk myself into it. And you can do that. And you can do it playfully. So, when your husband comes home and you're mad at him, you just pretend for 5 minutes, 3 minutes even. I just love him so much. He's the greatest guy in the world. And you go and you give him a hug with a big smile, and he thinks, everything is good. And you can do that. You have that power to do that. I teach women the value of that. See, we have powers that we don't realize. And if you look at the American man, for example, think of my culture, America, it doesn't work in other countries, everyone. But we know that we love our dogs, right? Man's best friend is his dog. And really, the few times I really broke into tears is when a dog died. One time I was driving down the freeway, and this is what happens when I'm drinking a little. You hear every story in my life. But I love them too, okay? It's a great story. It's called The Power of Mind here. Watch this story. So I'm driving along, and this dog was trying to cross the freeway. And he was in the middle, and he was restless. And I looked at Bonnie, I said, that dog's going to die. So I pulled my car over to try to get the dog into my car. So I was like 50 yards away, but I said, come on, come on. The dog saw me and ran on the other side and died. So, I cried. I cried so much. It was just horrible. I felt like I killed the dog, that thing, your thought creates reality. Well, I think the dog did it and the car did it, so I didn't. But in that moment, I was really grieving greatly. Because men do bond with dogs. It's a big deal. That's why we say man's best friend is a dog, not his wife, his dog. Now, why would that be? So analyze that. A little analysis here gives great wisdom. Whenever you come home, what does that dog do? He's always happy to see you. That's the secret to this. And then he goes right to sleep, just like, I'm so happy to see you, and he's down, okay? That's it. It's really about a 2-minute bonding moment, and a man will be happy. And this is what you have to understand about men. Now, being a marriage counselor for, almost 40 years, 35 years, something like that, you hear men when they want a divorce. Now you hear more women who want the divorce, and they almost say the same thing, and men almost say the same thing that's completely different from what women say. The men have their one thing they say, women have their one thing they say, and women will particularly say something like, for 23 years I give and give and give, and I get nothing back. And of course, as a man, I'm listening, why would anybody give that long and get nothing back? You got problems. But Because I don't say that. I say, well, tell me more. That's the whole thing you learn tonight. Oh, right, well, what else? Tell me more. That's how you become a good therapist. 3 lines. You just learn this. Tell me more. Make noises. Make groans. And if they sort of pause, then you go, well, what else? And then if it starts to low down, you go, well, help me understand that better. And women are always eager to help you understand themselves better, so just let them. And so that's the takeaway, basically. You'll forget it by the end of the talk, so I remind you at the end, men. Your takeaway from this conversation we're going to have tonight, whenever your wife's talking, we have this little meter which goes off in our brain, which is how long is this going to take. And women, you have to not take this personally. I can tell you exactly every time I go to the airport, 36 minutes and 13 seconds. I time everything. How many men can relate to timing stuff? Look how fast I did this, how good I did this. We're always measuring these sort of things, and we're happy to do that. So we're happy to measure how short your talk's going to be. And that's our instinct, because we want to get right to the point, okay? It's like we have this, if you're unhappy or distressed in some way, it's like there's a fire burning, we want to put out the fire. So that's our first instinct, because we love you. If we don't love you, we just roll our eyes and go, okay, let her talk. But because we do love you, we care about you, we see you in distress about something, we either want to tell you there's no reason to be upset, which never works, by the way, man. See, man, you tell them the problem, the guy goes, well, am I have to do something about it? Is it really a big deal? Or what do we do? I just forget it. I can watch a football game, have another beer. So that's our first response to stress. But women's is to announce it to everybody. Okay, she wants to announce it, better be heard. We'll decide later if something has to be done. But first, let's talk about it. And men don't understand that, okay? She's just got this distress signal going out. And she cannot relax in her body unless she tells everybody. So you have to think about this. Imagine a long time ago in a village, and one woman knew that the sky was going to fall. Okay. And imagine you're the only woman in the village that knows the sky's falling. We got to evacuate. The storm's coming in, the sky's falling, whatever it is. But you're the only one that knows. Then you're going to feel this pressure, like you have to do everything to save the village. But if you can get on a loudspeaker and say, guess what, everybody? The sky is falling, the storm is coming in, and you know it now, so it's not my job. Then she can relax. And this is something deep inside of women, which is very biological as well. My next talk I'll be giving is the actual biology of announcing to everybody the problems in your life. And we can laugh at that, but actually, bigger than medical industry is counseling industry. Okay, there's more counselors than doctors and nurses in America. Wow. And what do we do as counselors? I have huge people wanting to see me for counseling. What do? You just do nothing. They come in and you go, you see, if somebody came in and you say, oh, that's easy, just do this and this and this, they never come back. You have to go, oh, that's so hard. That's really difficult. Oh, God, you got an awful husband. I don't know what you can do. This is like, you empathize. You don't actually say all that, but you empathize and you ask more questions. You get her to talk. And I was amazed when I started doing this, because I just did it as an experiment one day, because I kept hearing women say, my husband doesn't listen to me. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to listen to the whole session and just see what happens. And practice those phrases. Well, tell me more and what else, and help me understand that better. It's my mantra. And make noises and look at them and don't give solutions. So I thought at the end of the first session I tried it, I was really insecure about it. I thought they're going to say this was a waste of time, money, and anything. And the woman said, oh, this is the best session in my life. I didn't say anything. I just asked questions. And then my practice started expanding very quickly, and I had a waiting list, and new women were coming to me, and I say to them, so why did you pick me as your therapist? And they said, oh, my friend, she told me all about you. I said, what did she say? She said, oh, you really care. And I always care. I'm a caring guy. But suddenly, I demonstrated my caring in a language, so to speak, or in a behavior that said I cared. But why do men give their solutions all the time? Because we're firemen. We want to put out the fire right away. We're emergency workers. We have this hormone called testosterone, which is the emergency hormone. And we have 30 to 50 times more than you. It's just like, and even as, I'm going to do this. Even we're going to get that hose and put out the fire, and even we're little boys, we have practice. This is John Gray on 2 beers. And then a cappuccino to wake you up. But I would like some water. If one of these lovely promoters in the back would bring me a bottle of water, that would be great. They would be a wonderful, delightful experience right now. I'm just feeling now very dry in my mouth. Okay. So anyway, so here I'm in LA, and I've got this woman, and she's telling me how great I am because I care so much. And it was a bizarre realization for me. And then what I would start to see, I just sat back and watched this. Women would come in, not every time, but quite often, women would come in and they were very distressed and upset. And I would purposefully not suggest anything that might change their life. I mean, tonight I'm teaching, so I'm going to teach you ideas that will change your life. So there's a good reason why you're going to walk out of here and go, oh my God, that's why everything in my life didn't work. That's why, oh my gosh, I still have more to go. So this is great. So people really do get transformed through all this wonderful insight and understanding. We've had so much of it today, and my talk will be more of that. So information is transformational, for sure. But there's also experience is transformational. Just maybe even more profound. I can talk about how good water is, but when you're dehydrated, you need to drink it. So women would come into my office, and I really thought, I'm going to try this out. I'm not going to offer any information or suggestions to change their life, but really just get to know them better and ask more questions and go deeper. And they would come in distressed, and they would leave happy. This is very important for men to understand. Women can be distressed, and nothing changes in their life, but if they feel heard, they leave happy. Now, how many women can relate to having that happen at some point in your life? Very important. Now, I'm asking you to remember that, because many times you'll talk to your husband and you're distressed and you're expecting him to offer a solution. Now, I know women will say, oh, I just want you to listen, and they do just want you to listen. But what I found is in practicality, often women have the secret intention, if I tell you how I feel, that you'll change your behavior. Confession time. Anyone, women ever feel that way? Yeah, of course you do. That's the whole primitive brain. The primitive brain says, I'm going to be really upset and you'll change, you know. So that's this emotional part. Really, there's two ways of using it. One way is to use it to change someone outside yourself. And that really doesn't work unless the person outside of you changes. And what we're learning today, and all of our sort of new awareness, enlightenment, is that you change yourself first, and the outer world reflects that. And we're all good at doing this in our Science of Mind churches, and we're thinking this, then we come home, and you'll do it right on your husband. Why have you not changed? But you got to apply these insights to real life relationships, where you basically get that your power to change your partner is not by trying to change them, but to change yourself. And it's a miraculous power. We just want to apply it to who we are and recognize as women, you're the ones who civilize men. Okay, I mean, guys, you know, mothers often, they have sons and they kind of, oh God, he doesn't bathe, he smells, he doesn't change his clothes, he doesn't brush his teeth, what's going to become of this boy? And then he gets a girlfriend. He changes. He starts shaving and then he puts on cologne. That's when he's got a girlfriend then. But women transform men. And the reality is that if a man can make a woman happy, he'll do whatever it takes. And then women, when they hear that, they go, well, my husband certainly doesn't. And I go, well, I don't know if you're that happy. Because when you communicate to a man that what he did makes you unhappy, then you're giving him the message that he failed. And when men get the message they failed, imagine you had a job and you're a guy and everybody thinks you're a failure. Do you work harder at it? No. So everything in the work world is about giving men momentum by, look, you'll get this prize, you get this award, and you get this raise, and you get this money, and if you have money, you can buy your car and a house and all that. All this is geared towards, men. If we didn't have men, it was all women, we'd be like Star Trek. There's no money on Star Trek, right? People just do their duty because it's a good thing to do. But it's really, if it was all women, we'd all be overwhelmed doing lots of things for everybody. But men come along, and if we didn't have money, men would just sit back and drink beer. I mean, why gotta go to work? We watch the game and do this. What's the big deal? We need incentives. We need motivation. You look at the football teams. These guys are getting beat up, but why do they do it? They get the money, but also all the cheerleaders. What do? See if I can get this down. I won't do this very well, but just for comedy's sake, I'll try. Da-da, da-da, da. 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 It's the promise. It's motivation. It's motivation. It's what's in there? What's in there? Never been there before, you know. No, where no man has ever gone before. Star Trek, you know. More water. More water. No, I don't need another beer.
They're all looking at me now.
Am I in trouble?
Close.
That's why we have men's groups. All right, so this is the takeaway point. There is the really significant message that men need to understand, women need to understand. Talking about your feelings will make you feel better, particularly if they're feelings that you don't normally share. Okay, it's Penny has got a new book called Transparency coming out. And that's a big part of what intimacy is to be transparent, to be able to share what's inside. And when you can share what's inside, that's intimacy, that's see into me. The challenge here is if women begin to do this sort of natural act of sharing what's inside, men don't know how to listen. So a woman might say, "Getting me more water." What a thoughtful wife I have. So, see, whenever my wife does really nice things for me, I have to think, okay, remember that. You have to do some really nice things for me. It's like women are really scorekeepers. They will not admit it. They do not admit it. You keep score. I mean, you basically, you'll be, I give and give and give, and you kind of go, okay, well, wait a second. It's not coming back. And that's what my point was I forgot earlier, which was when women want a divorce, I give and give and give. I don't give back. There's a big scoreboard. It's like 250, 100, 2,500 points to 0. And what men say is very different. It kind of sounds similar, but it's actually very different. She's saying, I'm giving and I'm not getting back. Okay, right? Which is, by the way, we're going to get to this on my second talk, or maybe tonight. But it's the universal law of the universe. The universal law of the universe. The universal law is what? If you give, you shall receive. So that's true. But then the other one is you should ask and you should receive. Remember that one? That's another one. So maybe we have to add those together. And you have to give, and then you have to ask to receive. See, that's the secret with men. You have to give men what men need, and then you have to ask what you would like.
Way to go, Bonnie.
You say that one more time.
She said, way to go,
Oh,
Bonnie.
you said.
Okay, I just want to get that in for Bonnie. Way to go, Bonnie. See, I'm a well-trained man. I try to get men to loosen up around the training thing. We have to be trained. They don't like to be, some men don't like to be compared to dogs, even though we love them. But actually, for anything we do, we get trained. You get a new computer system, you get trained. You want to fly an airplane, you get trained. You want to be a soldier, you get trained. You want to be a fireman, you get trained. You want to get married, why should I be trained? Does not make sense to me at all. We all, as men, need to be trained. And the challenge here is we don't want to be trained by our wives. Because we want to, like, look what I know. So it's hard for women to train us. So what I do is teach, well, one thing I do is I teach women-only seminars to teach them the secrets of training men without men knowing. But I'm so good at this, I'll teach you tonight how to do it. So, meaning the real training of men, and you wanted me to say it again, so we're going to say it again. There's two universal messages. And the one is, if you give, you shall receive. There's another one also, which women are really confused with, is which is better, to give or to receive? What do they teach you? It's always better to give. Now that one never sat in with me as a kid, because I'm like, no, I want the presents, okay? I'll take the receiving part. But for women, actually, if you think of your happiest moments in your life, often are when you fell in love And when you fell in love, you were so happy to what? To give. Because when you're giving, and also for me, as a male, it's not so much about giving in a relationship that made me so happy, but I can remember every school year when it would start over in September, it was like a new year, a new chance, where you didn't have all this homework you hadn't done. All these tests you had to take. It was like it was a time to do it, to start all over again. You're going to start over the best you can. It's that expectation that this time I'll succeed. So for men, it's the anticipation that if I do this, I will succeed. Stimulates this excitement, this enthusiasm, motivation. For women, in relationship particularly, it's when they're in love, they go, oh, I'm going to give, and guess what? He's going to want to give back. Give back, give back. So it's the anticipation of receiving back after giving that makes you feel so happy. Because you have the power to get more in your mind, because there's another universal law that says if you give, you will get. These rules all came from Venus, by the way. They work on Venus, not with Martians. But there's an adaptation. When you understand the third law, which is if you ask, you will receive. Okay, so that's another key idea there. So there's this little theory I have of how to get more in relationships. It's actually the introduction of my new book, but it's slipping in here. It's hard not to talk about your latest, but anyway, I'm going to finish this point. So, people want more in business. If you're an author, you want to sell more books. If you sell furniture, you want to have the best furniture and sell it and expand. You want to be more successful. So in the business world, who wants to be more successful? Raise your hand. Okay, now you with more enthusiasm. Who wants to be successful? Imagining enthusiasm would make you more successful. Who wants more success? Yeah, I do. Okay, I do. Okay, excitement. I want more. Nobody has an issue or problem with somebody wanting more in the work world. But then now we get to the relationship world, and a woman says, I want more, and men go, well, why don't you want more? Am I not good enough? Have I not done enough? How can you want more? And so women have sort of this cramped space of what? I can't want more? Can anyone relate to that? Of course you can. And can any men relate to, if she wants more, then I'm not doing good enough? It's hard. It sounds like criticism. It sounds like I failed. What? I've been doing all this. It's not enough to make you happy. And it's also one of the reasons there's such high divorce in wealthy people. If the man makes a lot of money, when he doesn't make a lot of money, the wife say, oh, we have no food in the refrigerator. And he goes, I know. And then when you got this massive refrigerator and it's filled with food, and she says, oh my God, you left the lights on. He goes, yeah, so what? It's like, in his mind, it's like, what's the big deal here? But he doesn't understand that women come from another world. They have to complain on a regular basis. They have to complain. See, I know you were taught, don't complain. Which is why it took you a while to feel the anger. Because I grew up in science of mind. My mother was esoteric. She had back in the days of the Bodhi Tree bookstore, and started in LA. It was like the first sort of new age bookstore. Same year, my mother started in Houston, Texas, the Aquarian Age bookshelf, which was all esoteric new age books from all around the world. And it was bigger than the Bodhi Tree. This lady went to the heart of darkness. Yeah. All the oil families to share the light. And she was so beautiful. She never even advertised. She just put a little sign in front of her house. She bought an extra house just for her little store. It started as a lending library because she read all these esoteric books. I started doing yoga at 3 years old. I just, it's like Sue Morter. We grew up in alternative universes, okay? But the same thing is, my mother was always positive. And so as I went to 28 years old being always positive, and went off with the Indian guru. I was the assistant to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi of the Transcendental Meditation Movement. Who'd have heard of TM these days? It's getting another second rise, it's becoming very popular. So he was like a father to me. I lived with him 9 years, and I was a junior Maharishi. And then when I came out into the world, I realized that to get really high, and I was really high, I had to suppress so much of another part of me, which was this more childlike part, more monkey-like part that wants money and sex and gets angry and wants to make a difference, and things are upsetting or things are really happy. You know, it was this, you know, I was really happy as a meditator and all that, but I was denying a part of me. And so when I came out, I sort of went through a dark night of the soul where I couldn't suppress anything from childhood anymore. Kind of what you're saying is happening, Penny was talking about in the world today, that frequencies are rising so much that people can't suppress their traumas anymore. And, you know, I grew up a happy kid, became this meditator, teacher of meditation, everything. Then as I started doing my inner exploration work, I realized my brothers were so jealous of me growing up. One time they buried me alive. You know, another time they threw me off a roof. At unexpected times I get punched in the stomach and knocked out. Another time swung into the pool and cut my shin open. He was like holding me like this and laughing to drop me. And I said, "You're going to drop me on the side?" No. And he drops me right on my chin, on the ground, on the concrete. So, and then more, tying me down with, torturing with needles, pine needles, you know. But you feel like, I can't get up, I can't. You start to cry and all that. And throwing me into the fire, shaking like this. We burned the leaves. I mean, I went through so many past lives. It was unbelievable in my childhood. You know, if you asked me at 25 years old, how's your childhood? Great, I had the most wonderful childhood in the world. You know, I couldn't remember any of that stuff because, you know, when traumas happen, we often just lock them away, forget them, and move on. And I'll just take a moment because you're probably wondering, well, why were your brothers so like mean to you? Because I talk about my idyllic childhood from my mother, and you know, here she is, this sort of enlightened woman, very enlightened woman, with 6 boys and 1 daughter, and I never saw my mother get upset. You know, we lived in a nice neighborhood and so forth, but she would say, "Go and play," and we went and played, and I was traumatized. But had I not done the therapy, actually for me, the therapy was to go up so high that I could no longer suppress, and then it was all just coming up. And going through all that stuff transformed my heart, opened my heart. Because the one thing having, you know, unbounded mind, you know, on universal consciousness and all that, freedom, just the, you know, the detachment and so forth. But the other thing is to come into all your emotions and fully feel. And that's what we want is balance in our life, is to be both, you know, in the heavens and on the earth. And kind of what happened for me in all that journey is I saw that as we become more spiritual, there is no gender difference within us, okay, as a spirit. And God is both masculine and feminine. And I even say that from direct experience. Somebody said they got enlightened and God didn't speak to them. Well, God did to me. It's a very funny story. Now, I was enlightened much younger in my TM days and all that, and then I came out into the world and different levels of enlightenment and all that, however you want to define it. There are many. But one day God did speak to me, and God said, "Hi, John." That was it. This big booming voice said, "Hi, John." But the message was, in that tone of voice, was the most beautiful, powerful sound I could ever imagine. It was a perfect blend of masculine strength and feminine love and joy and softness and kindness and the confidence and the power and the leadership and the masculine. It was like for years I would just meditate on that one sound that I heard, which was the blending of the masculine and feminine, and which was, you know, the source we all come from. So as spiritual beings, which we're all rising and knowing ourselves one with spirit, we realize that we're not just masculine, we're not just feminine. And that's why there's so much confusion today of people going, am I male, am I this, or am I that, what am I? You know, because, I mean, you have to think about it. I mean, I remember back in the 60s, this is in the new book, in the 60s I was, you know, wearing bell-bottom pants and really into how I looked, and had a nice buckle, you know, and had these little hippie shirts and beads and long hair, and went and meditated in San Francisco Park, you know, where everybody was having their 1968, 69 thing, you know, Summer of Love, you know. Oh, it was fantastic, you know, and we're all for peace, you know, we're not warriors. This was men moving to their female side. Permission to wear pink shirts. Permission to look like girls, in a sense, grow your hair out. So this was all like freedom. Now, I didn't know what I was being free from, because I was just in that generation. But it's thousands of years of repression of the feminine energy inside of men was now being released. And for women, same thing was happening. The repression of masculine energy in women was being released. And when something has been pushed down for so long, and suddenly the culture opens up, and spirit comes in as well, both is happening at the same time, but the culture is now saying, hey, women can be independent, women can be educated, women can have property, women can vote, all those things that women didn't have before. This was the male side of them, had the freedom to come out. And the men could go way over their female side. Just instead of sacrificing our happiness in order to go to a job to make money to support our family. So men were not allowed to complain. Men sucked it up. They went to their jobs. They did whatever it took to scrape up the money to support their family. And that was the male role. If you're a fireman, you give up your life. You're a soldier, you give up your life. You go to the coal mines, even today. Who was it somebody said on TV? They're all upset about losing their coal mine jobs. And it's the worst job on the planet. What are you complaining about? We want to create more coal mines. This was the male world. And we take for granted. Men, women often complain men don't do much help around the house. But who climbs on the roof when there's a leak? Who talks to the neighbor when there's a dispute? Who's going to go out and dig out the trees, or the wind is blowing? Who's going to go out and do that? Who's going to talk to the electrician when the electricity's done? Who's going to talk to Comcast? Who has Comcast? You don't have Comcast. That's the VCR company where we live. I mean, you're 8 hours on the phone with those people, and it still doesn't work for 3 days. Or the computers break down. You fix it. And understandably, she's busy doing all this other stuff. But that stuff doesn't get accounted for. There's so much about men that just completely taken for granted. But to be fair, so much about women is so taken for granted. I remember on the theme of taken for granted, we'll go back to Men Are From Mars here. We all do it as we become familiar in a relationship and as the scoreboard goes up. So first, before I talk about how women take men for granted, I'll talk about how men take women for granted. Otherwise, women would be mad at me. They need to get their touche in there. So what men will do is they marry you. I love you more than anything. I give my life to you. You're the sweetheart. You're the one I think about all the time. Okay, and that's all he's thinking about. But once he has you, he forgets you. You go off to work. He doesn't think about you. He comes home. He drinks a beer. He watches TV. You go, what happened to the romantic guy? In the first few years or so, or first dating, I love you so much. He sees you naked. Oh my God, I love you so much. I can't believe it. He just can't put enough into words. He's just like right there for you. And after a while, he's not talking at all. And women will come and say, he doesn't even say he loves me anymore. He doesn't compliment me anymore. And the man's sitting there and go, well, why? I'm married to you. It's like, and it's not like if you're married, you shouldn't do that. It's, in his mind, well, if I'm married to you, that means I do love you. But it's very different to hear, I love you, and to know someone loves you. It's a very different experience, and women are acutely aware of that. And, we used to, Bonnie and I, because Bonnie's in the audience, I'm having lots of memories that are extending my talk. But do you remember the first few years I used to call her, I'd be on a trip somewhere and teaching a seminar, and I'd call, and she'd say at the end of the call, I love you. And there'd be this long silence. She'd be so sad. But if I said I love you, I'd have to fake the tone. You see, men, they don't feel all the time. See, they disconnect from their feelings. And so there's times when you feel the love, and there's times when you don't feel the love, but you love them. But if it's one of those times, if she says, do you love me? Do you love me? Well, yes, I love you. But there's no feeling in it. And so what a guy has to do then, if his wife wants him to say, I love you, then he has to fake it. And so she says, I love you. I go, I love you too. Doesn't sound like you love me. We actually had a whole conversation about that. I said, if you do this, then I feel pressured and I have to say it, but then you're going to feel like it's not real. And so It took me a long time to figure this thing out, okay? But the talking part of the brain is not directly linked to the feeling part of the brain in a man, okay? Women, they sit right next together. There's 7 parts of a woman's brain that can talk and listen. There's 1 part of a man's brain. Now they know this because of strokes, you know. If a man has a stroke right in here where his talking and thinking part is, where he can listen and talk, okay? If he gets a stroke here, he can't hear or talk after that. A woman can get a stroke here, 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 here. She has to have 7 strokes before she can't listen or talk. And this is because women talk from all parts of the brain. They also listen from all parts of the brain. So, you're in a situation where a guy, he'll be listening to you, and then he has to run back to this part of the brain and go, what did she say? Then he has to go, what does she expect? He has to go over here. It's just, this is thinking about consequences. Okay. What is she expecting of me? And if I say what I think I should say, what would happen then? Then he has to come back in here and go, don't say it. Then he has to walk back up here, and he can listen to you again, and you've changed the subject. So we don't really know who you're talking about. See, we assume it's still the first person you were talking about, but you haven't identified them. While we were back there, you changed subjects and you introduced the name of the person once. That's it. So she's first talking about Bill, okay? I go back here and she's finished with Bill. Now she's talking about Bob. And then Bob said, and then she's going on with what Bob said, and I'm going, why would he say that? That's crazy. He would never say that. She, what do you mean he wouldn't say that? Well, Bill would never say that. And she goes, you think I've been talking about Bill? I'm talking about Bob. Bob would never say that. Bill would never say that. Why would you think I would say that about Bill? You were thinking that, weren't you? And you get this big, huge confusion. And poor men, because they'll be listening, you know, trying to remember, okay, what character we're going on and so forth. And you don't tell it, you don't repeat the name. You say it once and it's supposed to stick, you know it, and that's the case. So to avoid all that, what I would say with Bonnie and my daughters, I'd say, tell me again. And they look at me like I'm retarded. Okay? And then after years they got really frustrated and you're just not listening. No, I'm trying to listen, but I have to research everything you say. So take it as a compliment when I say, would you say that again? But how many women have had a man say to you, will you say that again? If you ever had him say that, raise your hand. Let me just say so. My wife's not the only one who has experience with me. And it's easy to go, well, you weren't listening. No, he was listening, but he was somewhere else thinking to come back. Okay, so it's because we love you so much that we're trying to understand and listen. That's why I say, would you say that again? And she's looking at you like, why should I say it again? I just said it very clearly. Wasn't it clear? And while we're looking at good communication skills, I would like this, here's a little pinpoint for the ladies in the room, is there are times when you're really frustrated with a guy, you're misinterpreting each other back and forth, and you just want to say to him, what was that? Okay, we won't pass. You just want to say to him, you just don't understand. Or you might just say, you're just not listening. Now, if you say to somebody who's struggling, he's running laps in his brain, you know. He's like, how long do I have to keep going? I'm not a long distance runner, you know, I can't do it. You know? And then it's like he's been working really hard, and you're just not listening to me. It's not the most encouraging statement, right? So it doesn't foster more encouragement to listen more. So here's another way to encourage men to listen more if he seems to be drifting off or missing the point, or you're frustrated. And part of frustration, by the way, is not knowing how to get somewhere. It's really, we only become frustrated, angry, we just don't know what to do that will work. You know, how many times have we been lost? And being lost is not a problem for me. It's being lost and being late, which wasn't a problem for me until I married Bonnie. Well, no, she's rightly so. She tells me, you're late. You should call me, right? Till I get some more lunch. Those are probably our biggest arguments we've ever had. It's me being late.
Over and over.
At least he's consistent.
I'll pay you. You're the best of the show, okay?
Tell us more.
Well, at least he is consistent. I have to tell you a story about consistency. And I have to come back to that story I didn't finish and the one before and the one before. I got it all in my head. It's all there. I once counseled a woman and she said she was so frustrated because she was in this session and I said, well, what's the matter? And she said, well, he's late. And I said, oh, well, we can go ahead and start. She said, we can't start. And he promised me he would be on time. I said, oh. And then she goes, I've been married to him all these years, and every time he promises that he's going to be on time, he's always late. And I said, how many times do you think that's happened? Maybe hundreds of times.
There you go.
And I said, well, and you're still expecting him to be on time. They're just certain, there's certain things that just don't change. But that what I'm going to get to is one of those things I didn't finish is your power to get more in a relationship, because we all deserve to have more. And particularly in relationships, and it's kind of like a taboo that you can't want more in relationships. It's even if you go back in history, as people we couldn't want more. We were told, in Buddhism, don't desire. Hinduism, don't desire. Even in Christianity, ask God, but be happy with what you've got. But that enlightenment is always wanting more and being grateful for what you have. That's a challenge. See, when you're grateful for what you have, you kind of go, well, I shouldn't want more. How many children got the message, you should be grateful for what you have, shouldn't want more, as opposed to, always want more, but we don't have more yet. But wanting more is a good thing. But wanting more for thousands of years had to be suppressed, because if you encourage people to want more, it's a power comes out. It's passion. I mean, what do we want in our marriage? What do people complain about besides the other things I mentioned? Haven't finished the male side of it. But it's passion. We want to feel that passion. There's excitement, there's electricity, there's aliveness, there's ecstasy, there's bliss. We want that. And when we don't have that, for many people, that's why they get divorced. I hear it over and over. Couples we're best friends, but we want a divorce. Now, what does that mean? That means they have such bad communication skills that they were not able to keep the passion. That's what it means from my perspective. Now, somebody can disagree with me, but I look at their communication skills, the ones that come to me, they don't have transparency. See, passion can only be there when you feel I could authentically be naked with my partner. Mm-hmm. Safety. And that's the secret of passion today. If you want passion in your life, passion in your marriage, passion in your marriage is a little different from passion in your life. Passion in your marriage is authenticity, freedom to express yourself, and safety. For women only. All right, now you have to wake up over there. Just give a little nudge, Gary. It's okay. We're talking about sex now.
Over sun exposure today. I'm exhausted. And I was really hoping I would escape your attention.
Like right here in the front row.
I know. It's a setup.
So I said sex. Yes, I did. And then I wanted to wake you up. Okay, that didn't do it. So I thought I have to actually talk to you. All right. So, and this is a shocking revelation, because so much of what's happened today is we feminize men. And I said men want to go to their female side. And typically, what I see in a marriage that's falling apart, the passion's gone, is woman complains. It's the nature of women are the weather. They're Mother Earth. They complain. That's female energy, says everything that's good and everything that's not good. And women, you're the masters of seeing how everybody's inappropriately dressed tonight. You can go into the restaurant and see everything everybody's eating that's wrong. You can see everything that's wrong and you can see everything that's right. Men just see what gets them a reward. Okay, just like, hey, there's a TV, I'll just sit in front of that. The house could be a mess. We can just we focus on our target, we gather information in order to achieve our goal. We can see what's good or bad, but to achieve a goal. But for women, it's random. They just take it in. Now, how many women can cop to that? You can see all the good and you see all the not good. It's there. But it's not nice to say the not good. So you have to hide that. You have to stuff it inside. That's part of who you are. And women, women, you have not changed biologically that much in the last thousands of years. So women learn that if you're going to be married to a man, you can't share all of that with men. Because men end up taking it personally, like they have failed. Because our job is to please you and make you happy. So when you're happy, we go, yes, look, I'm married to a happy woman. See how beautiful she is. I take credit for that. That's what men do. We take you to a movie. You like the movie? We go, yeah, I wrote that movie. I directed that movie. I'm giving this great talk, and Richard's in the back of the room. I discovered him. I got him to come here. He's doing this show. He'll take credit for it. Men take credit. All the guys are going, yep, honey, I brought you there. Just remember that. He'll take credit. Because taking credit, look what I did, stimulates a male hormone that men need to survive, that women don't need. That's testosterone. Anytime you take credit, look what I do, your testosterone surges. That's why we bond with dogs. When dogs are happy to see us, we go, somebody sees what I do. Okay? Somebody missed me today. So look at that. We need that. You don't realize it. You think, oh, that's male ego trip. But that's male ego trip. But if you balance it, there's female ego trip. What's female ego trip? Hey, you didn't compliment me. You're not saying you love me. You didn't give me hugs. You're not showing me attention. What was it? I was taking Bonnie to dinner tonight and had no idea where we're going. She says, that's your job. I go, okay, I take it. That's my job. I'll find it now. But the difference for me is, yes, I got her here. That's right. And we had a lovely dinner, and I'm going, yep, I brought her to this restaurant. My taco I just made for her. That's what men have, these certain primary needs. When you understand what they need, it's not so complicated. But if you think a man's like a woman, it becomes very complicated. Because you're giving him everything you want, he doesn't want it. You actually get minus points when you give him what you want. And you're busy doing that. You don't know how different men are. It'd be like, I would have preferred, now don't listen to this, but Bonnie went and got the water for me. I would prefer somebody else got it. Because she just gave herself a point. I'm panic. I go, what do I have to do to balance the score? You know, I got to do something more. Now I'm going to teach you guys. So Richard, I want you to get me a glass of water and run up here with it and just receive all the acknowledgement that you deserve. Watch this happen. Like he's going to run. Wait, where are you going? Go outside, get the water. And just notice how good everybody's going to feel now.
Richard, if you don't mind, can you bring two?
Yeah, bring some for Jerry.
Don't push it.
But it's thrilling to see a man run and do something little, okay? Like, hold on. It's like, just check out the captain's outfit. I just
He looks like a captain.
Does he look like a ship's captain? Now we're going to do a practice run here. Just step up here. Sure. You just imagine that our ship was going to sink. The captain woke up in the middle of the night and he stood at the thing like this for 18 hours straight to save our lives. And so I'm not going to introduce you to the captain. I want you to imagine how you would feel. We're all doing this imagination thing, how you feel. Remember that's what you want to do? So this is ship captain. Come on in here. Captain Richard, he saved our lives. How do you feel? That is a mediocre New Age applause of about that much on the stage. You have to imagine you're at a football game. You're at the Super Bowl, and that guy just made that last touchdown overtime. Now let's give the captain a big round. Poor two ladies ladies, they have to be embarrassed. They're the only two that jumped out of their seats. Now think about it. This guy just saved your life. Now let's give him a big hand. Let's see what you would do. He just saved your life. He is married, so you can't throw your panties. All right, thank you so much, Richard. Now, I just want to point out that he didn't save our lives, but you pretended. See how good you are? You did that. We all feel so much better. So every day, whenever a man comes into your sight that you love, pretend that he's the greatest guy in the world just for a minute or two. I'm so happy to see you, a sparkle in your eye. Who was it? Somebody was telling us about, I don't know if it was a dinner or a talk, but you could...
Penny with the eye sparkles.
Penny was telling us about the eye sparkles.
Yeah.
Is that you were saying, Penny?
Yeah.
Well, shiny eyes.
Shiny eyes.
Who was saying shiny eyes?
Shiny eyes.
But who said it? You?
Oh, I think it might have been Don Juan.
Oh, Carlos Castaneda's probably. His teacher was saying, have shiny eyes. And you kind of, well, that's weird. Make your eyes shiny. But that's like sparkle. Yeah, and my wife's actually aware that she can turn on her a sparkle. Aren't you?
You're giving away all my secrets.
she
That
does.
wasn't the contract here.
Oh, sorry. Sparkle. Women, you can turn on your sparkle. And if sometimes you just have to pretend to do it. You just go for it, And just like men, you're lazy and you want to sit around drinking beer, but you get up and do something, And if you can't, run. Whenever you're moving, women get a little excited, He's not dead. There's life force in this guy, These are the subtleties. There's subtleties of the distinctions between men and women. So, back to finish a few other points. When women are, ready to throw in the towel, they're done. They just they've been giving and they're resenting and their resentment. And, Sue told us how bad resentment is, okay? And basically, men can resent, but women, you're like the champions. And the reason you're the champions is resentment tends to be the consequence of giving more than you're getting. And you're such good givers. And you're not that great at receiving. So receiving means letting other people do things for you. Let's just think about that for a moment. Receiving means letting other people do things for you. Now, if other people do things for you, guess what? It's never going to be perfect. Because you can do it perfectly, right? So you have to learn to embrace imperfection. And you also have to learn the biggest secret of receiving more in your life is patience.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen right away. It takes time. It takes time. And I think one of the well, I won't say one of the greatest, but it's one of the many, many great things Bonnie has said to me, which is when I was this younger. This is over 30 years ago, and here I am, I'm teaching my seminars, and there were like 32 people in my seminars, and my books were not bestsellers, and I knew other people who were total hypocrites having bestsellers, and they were angry and beat people up and took drugs and had all kinds of, but they're bestsellers, and I'm like, what the what, and I'd be so frustrated, and Bonnie's a big gardener, and she said, John, what you share is real. And as a gardener, you put a seed in the ground, you water it, it doesn't come up right away. You nurture it, and you don't see all the signs it's growing, but it's there. You have to trust it's there. You have to trust. That's the art of receiving, is trust. It's there. So many of the meditations, it is done. That's just to bring up the trust. Trust, it's there. It's done. Don't worry about it. Because when you worry about it, you're digging it up, and you're interfering with the natural process. And then she said, it starts as a little seed, and then it becomes a little stalk, and it's years before it becomes a tree. But when it becomes a tree, it will last forever. And that's longevity. And that's real, that's lasting, not a flash in the pan. It takes time to build something. It takes time this is female wisdom, it takes time for a child to grow. And the mother has that wisdom of knowing that, this kid can't even walk. What's wrong with him? Can't you speak in full sentences? What's your problem? No, she's there patiently with every step of the way. And she marries this guy, and she thinks he's perfect, and she gives and gives, expecting it all to come back, and it doesn't. She goes, why not? Because you're expecting him to be a woman. But if he was a woman, you wouldn't feel the same about him. You'd be girlfriends. instead of a guy who can do certain things without complaining. See, the great thing about guy-woman relationship is guys can thrive if they have a good man to teach them not to complain. That's what I am. That's my new role in the world, is teaching men what it takes to be men in this world today, which is to stop complaining. And this is what happens in marriage. Now, I just see it happens everywhere. It happened in my marriage. It's we men, we go on our female side. We have lots of emotions. So our wife is complaining to us, and we play tennis. She complains, and what do? We complain back. And what does she do? Well, I've got another one. She complains back. He says, well, I got 2 for that. And he'll start complaining more than you. And then you'll start to shut down and go, I cannot feel safe to express what I feel with him. Because if you express how you feel, he takes it as criticism. He becomes needy, or he becomes sensitive, he gets angry, whatever, or he complains back. Now, why would men do that? Because, see, in the male world, we're going to just, male logic, it's very logical for a man to complain back until he understands if he's complaining to a woman, it has the opposite effect. So let's say we're 2 guys in the mafia, and my guys killed your son, so your guys killed my son, and we shake on him. Okay, now we're even. That's mafia. Now, not all men are mafia, so let's just come to regular guys, and we're in business together. What do you do for your business? Limo driver. Okay, so let's say we have a limo company together. And you're driving, and I'm driving, and then at the end of the year, we're tallying up the dollars. And you say, hey, John, you know, I had that $5,000 repair, and you're not having to pay it, so you're kind of making $5,000 less. And I said, oh, you don't know, but my car broke down. I paid $5,000, and that other car we have, I paid $5,000 on that. So you have 1 complaint. I've got 2, and it's okay. How do you feel? Pretty good, right? Yeah, he's getting more. So men, basically, did you get that? Okay, it's logic. It's just pure logic. If you have a complaint, I've got a complaint and an extra one, and I'm willing to let it go, then you should think I'm really wonderful. So a woman has a complaint, I give you 5. And hey, I'll let it go. I didn't bring it up. Only because you brought it up, but I can match your complaints any day. And he thinks, but I still love you. But she's just been battered by all these complaints, and it's much harder for them to deal with that. And that's the reality of men and women, is that men have higher testosterone levels. The average male, 10 to 30 times more testosterone. President, 50 times. Criminal, 50 times. Lawyer, 50 times. They're all in the same category as mine. But just kidding. Any lawyers in the room? Anyway, I've had my fair share. Anyway, so high testosterone. The higher your testosterone is as a man, the more you don't care about criticism. So you get a guy like our president, who's a high testosterone, ambitious guy. You can say whatever you want. He just says, well, you're stupid. Well, that's your problem. That's not my problem. We'll see you in court. You know? On one level, he's that way. He has this macho bravado. Actually, he actually has a lot of estrogen in him, so he gets his feelings hurt as well. He's a big baby. Anyway, I apologize if you voted for him. So anyway, but we all have our jokes. Okay, so it's a phenomenon which is happening in the world as men go more to their female side. Now, when I say female side, it can be insulting to men, but actually it's towards authenticity. As spiritual beings, I'm both masculine and feminine. Now, one man might have more feminine qualities than me. So it's not like we have to have the same amount of masculine or the same amount of feminine. We all have our own unique balance. We're unique beings in the universe. There's nobody like you. And that's it. But with that, we historically, to survive, we had to have this partnership where men had to do awful things, risk their lives, die for the family, and women had to be safe and protected. So women were raising the children. And in the indigenous tribes that I've seen, women are pregnant all the time. and read about as well. You know, they don't have birth control. They have babies and they're breastfeeding, and their grandmothers, and they're taking care of the kids. So women are busy doing nurturing activities, and men are busy doing testosterone stimulating activities. And that's all changed in the last 50 years, dramatically. And it dramatically changes the whole relationship between men and women. So I can look back on my mother and father's relationship, and to a great extent, they were very happy together. He had a good job, he had good manners, and he didn't get mad at her. That's all she needed. And she had her children in a nice neighborhood and did what she loved to do. That was the old days. Man does his job, woman does her job. It didn't always work out right. Let's say a man grew up and he didn't have a father figure, the wrong color skin, or whatever it might be, and he couldn't make enough money. Then you have a disaster. But if a man could make the money, provide for his family, had decent manners, and didn't get angry at his wife, and women have female skills so that men never got angry with you. You figured he was gone most of the time, so when he's here, just smile and say yes. Just let him say, yeah, you're right. Which, by the way, those are my 3 takeaways for the women here. Whatever possible and authentic, say to a man, you're right. Let's all practice that. 1, 2, 3.
You're right.
I agree, you're right. Next one is, that makes sense. Try that one.
That makes sense.
You did that so well. Now when you do that, men kind of go, what did I say? You just don't know the effect it has on a man. You just don't know. It's much bigger than you could imagine. I'm not saying to fake this. On occasion it's okay, as you know, pretending sometimes is okay. But I'm just saying when you first see him, that's the main thing, to pretend. But when you can authentically look at a man and go, this is a vulnerable being just like I'm a vulnerable being. I need kisses, I need compliments, I need hugs, I need affection, I need to be held, I need to be thought about, I need to be missed. That's what you need. What does he need? He doesn't need any of that stuff. Maybe a little bit. He's way on his female side and somebody told him he should need that. But what he needs is someone to say, you're right, good idea, that was so helpful, I'm so glad you're in my life. Ah, you're here. The hero has arrived. You have a tone of a voice that can do that. I cannot do that for another man, nor would I. You know, women often complain, men don't appreciate you. And I know you feel that way, you don't feel appreciated. Because we're the worst appreciators. We're terrible at it. Why? Because let's say we're business partners and we're going to the door and I say, going for a job interview. I say, what's your name? Jerry is the very best. You can't believe this guy. He's incredible. And Jerry goes, well, thank you, John. He gets the job. So men are competing. So when you're competing with somebody, you're not going to build them up. You're going to build yourself up. And of course, this is craziness in the workplace because you'll have a team of women and a few men on the team. And let's say I come in and I'm the higher up. I say, wow, what's your name? Mia, you did an incredible job, and Mia, being a woman, she'll immediately deflect. She'll go, oh, but it wasn't me. What's your name? Mia will say, oh, I did not, it wasn't all me. Beverly, you won't believe what Beverly did. And then she'll go in great depth of everything Beverly did. And then Beverly will go back and say, oh, but Mia, you did da-da-da-da. And then you've got John over here, and Beverly will say something to you, and then you'll say something about John, and John will go, well, thank you so much. I did work hard. I wasn't sure at first, but I think we made an incredible message out there and changed the world, I thank my team for their support. He'll take all the credit. And women go, what just happened? He just sucked up all the attention? But that's masculinity. That's what we do. And so basically, so what you do, understanding masculinity, rather than resent it, you come back to Christianity where you go, he knows not what he just did. He doesn't know what a bomb he just dropped. He just figured nobody's taking credit. I will. It's like, hey, I'll take the credit. Why not? It's just a natural thing. So what you do is you say, yes, John, you did a great job, and so did you, and so did you, and I don't think we could ever done it without you. And you just bring it right back. In a board meeting, women will come up with an idea, and often women don't always sort of throw it out there like, I've got the best idea anybody could ever imagine. It's more of a humble thing because she doesn't want to stand out of the group. She's like, we're all part of the group, and I have a thought over here. Guy will hear that thought, and he'll go, that's a good idea. And then he'll piss on it. And a few minutes later, he'll say it. Now it's his ideas. He's not going to acknowledge you because he pissed on it. That means he made one adjustment. And now it's his idea. And so many women walk away going, he gets all credit, but I'm the girl who said that first. I did it. What's he doing taking credit? He has no idea that he took your idea. He just heard it, went in his head, next day it's his. Next minute it's his. You've all married those men. You give them an idea, you go, I want to do that. Next day, let's do this. And you go, I get no credit? He needs the credit. And the irony of this is that when men feel boosted in that way, they will give more. Because you're giving them what they need. And that's the whole idea of giving. If you give, you will get more. But you have to give what somebody needs the most. You have to give them what they're hungry for. Now, there was a time in my life after being a monk for 9 years where I was homeless on the beach in Santa Monica, living with crazy people. They were dangerous people. Okay, so it was a scary time in my life. In the beginning, it was, okay, God has me here. God will feed me. Nobody came. Then a friend did show up. He gave me $50. And so I could get some food. And I'm always grateful to him for that. When you really need something and somebody gives it to you, you're a friend for life. For sure. And this is what we have to, this is why looking at his needs, her needs, primary needs are so important. Because on a kind of a surface level, we're all the same. You know, there's way more similarities between men and women than differences. But where it counts is where we're different. Because those are the places where we're not getting it. And the work world women are certainly not getting the kind of nurturing that they used to get in the indigenous cultures, where women were talking all day long and never rushing, never having to be the leader, but they always sharing. See, these are female estrogen qualities. And there was no sort of risk and danger involved either. It was all nurturing. This is stimulating estrogen, stimulating progesterone. All these female hormones that are required for you to make babies are getting produced when you're in that non-hurried environment, non-leadership environment. Because see, when you're the leader, it's up to you. You know, you get the reward, but you also get the risk of danger. For me, leadership just makes me feel better. Now, I'm not saying women can't be leaders. They're amazing leaders. Not saying they shouldn't be leaders. They should be. But they have to have a personal life that will also stimulate these feminine hormones. And when you have that personal life, then anticipating that when I go home, I've got somebody I can talk to, share with, who loves me, who cares about me, then while you're doing your workday, you're also making some female hormones. But you got to have that personal life. It's more powerful than any female personal life in the past to stimulate those hormones. Why? Because you have to balance all this testosterone you're making by being these super women. And you're all super women. Women today are way up there. You know, under 35, women make way more, 20% more than men under 35 without children. That's government statistics. That's for the same job. You know, the whole thing is men get paid more than they do if it's compared to a woman with children or a woman over 35. But the younger women, they're coming in, they're taking over. And universities today, the graduate rate in universities is 2 women to every man graduates college. So women are way more educated, and we're in a world where education is the great part, what makes your money. Women have all these social skills, all these connected skills, that, you know, running the family skills is how you run the world now. We're all connected. So it's all who you know, how you do it, how you create relationships. And women are shooting ahead. Don't need men, do you? Men are just like another messy child to take care of. And this is what women confess to me in counseling. Their frustrations, their disappointments, their lack of attraction. That they feel like the mother. They feel nothing, you know, and they feel guilty about it. And they feel shame about it. And I say, no, you should feel that because you're with a child. I wouldn't tell him that. Actually, you know, not the men in this room. But that's how women will view us. Back in the early 90s, I remember, before I wrote Men Are From Mars, I still wasn't, how much? I can't read that far. How many?
10.
All right, 10 minutes. You see what she says? Keep going. Dangerous to say that to me. My wife is watching me carefully. She hears all the complaints in her head. It's females. This is what women do. And so this safety is to be able to express how you feel. So one practical technique. I never finished. I got to wind up all the stories I didn't finish. The first one I didn't finish. Women talk about I give and give, I don't get back. Now, first of all, who's responsible in that?
Women.
Yeah, so just at least having that sense of you're responsible for the results you get in your life. And don't take it back to, yeah, but I picked him. That was the reason I have no. That's why they often go, yes, I created this relationship by picking him. Nothing else, but no, there's contribution on both sides. Not that you can't be with the wrong person. That can certainly be the case. But we don't have these up-to-date relationship skills. Let's blame it on that. Because women are giving freely. And in a culture where women had a lifestyle that stimulated their female hormones, then if you gave what a man really needed, you did get back. And giving did bring you more. Because what did you give a man? You gave him what women don't know how to give today and can't give today, which is the amount of gratitude and appreciation that when a hungry person gets fed. But you don't need men anymore. So vulnerability is actually needing. People are talking about vulnerability, and there's a lot of discussion about what vulnerability means. What I see vulnerability is being open, sharing, putting down all the walls. But what is it that we're most afraid to feel? I need you. I need your love. I'm going to tell you a story, and I'm hoping that you won't reject me for it. That's a moment of vulnerability. I'm going to say something that somebody could be critical of, but maybe you won't be. That's vulnerable. Why is it vulnerable? Because I could be hurt. How would I be hurt? Only if I need your approval. Only if I need your love. And the reality is, every single thing we do in our lives is motivated by our need to be loved and to love. Everything we do. If you dress so beautifully tonight, somebody would say, you look so beautiful tonight. I want to be pleasing to others. I want people to be pleased in my presence. Because behind everything, even though it seems all corny and cliche-ish, is we all need to be loved. And that's the most vulnerable part of us. And so we have all these coverings of I don't care about that, I don't care about that. Women will say to men, oh, you're so helpful. He goes, oh, it's just my job. Because he doesn't even want to point out how much he needs somebody to say, what an amazing job you did. You've changed my life. You've helped me. And that's what men have done throughout the centuries. And now women don't need us. So this is a huge crash for men. We just don't acknowledge the big elephant in the room and then find out how can we fix this. And the way we fix it is my next talk. To be continued. But I have to give a few pointers because you can practice before my next talk. But it's women saying I give and I don't get back, and yet they're giving not necessarily what men need, so they're not getting back what they need. Because men give more when they get what they need, just as you as women have more to give when I give to you. This is human nature. It's reciprocal. Everything's reciprocal. What men say when they want to end a relationship is to say, John, no matter what I do, it never makes her happy. That's it. All we care about is you being happy. It's this neurosis. It is a neurosis, but it's what men do. So when you're happy, we go, yes, look what I did. And we feel great. My wife is happy. Look how happy she is. Matter of fact, if you go back in history, you'll see that the Chinese women, they have these little dresses and they have to go like this. Why? It's the most unpractical thing in the world. It's all status symbol. Is you're a wealthy woman, you don't have to do domestic work. Therefore, I'm the husband. And I go, see, I'm so wealthy, my wife doesn't have to work. And so she's like walking around like this. And then they start bundling up her feet. They take things, cultures take things to exaggerated forms, okay? So then they bundle up her feet. So she can't do anything. And then suddenly men get foot fetishes. Oh my God, she's really hot and sexy because she can't walk. It's just like so many things you'll see in cultures when you start studying them. And I only have 5 more minutes, so here we go. So for men, it's no matter what I do, it's never enough to make her happy. And part of what I teach men, and this is my training for men, and we'll get more of it when we come back, even if you're pushing some buttons here, just be patient with me here. It's your job is not to make a woman happy. So I'm in mystery. I have no idea whether Bonnie likes my talk or doesn't. Where are we here? You're a little good? Okay. Women are mystery. They're the weather. You never know with the weather. Okay, so all it takes is one cyclone out of the blue and you kind of go, when will it happen again? So there's that not knowing. So when a man makes a woman happy, when a woman's happy, men go, yes, I did that. So when she's not happy, what goes on inside of him? He feels like he failed. Now, nobody wants to feel like a failure, so now I'm invested in trying to explain to you why you shouldn't be unhappy. And what I've just done is taken an unhappy woman and made her really unhappy. And this happens over and over and over. So what I have learned to help men free them from this, once you analyze, understand women, explaining to a woman why she shouldn't be happy will only make her more unhappy. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. Because I gave you my first lesson today, if a woman can talk about what she's unhappy about, she'll run out of words. And then she will be happy again. Like we've been taught, our happiness is our natural state. By the way, it's the natural state of our female side. Not the happiness. The happiness is not masculine energy at all. It's when I'm balanced in my masculine and feminine. When I'm on my female side, I can feel happiness. What do I feel when I'm pure on my masculine side? Complete freedom. Detachment. Nothing bothers me. Something happens, it's upsetting. What was it the other day? Because I'm very rooted in my masculine as well. I'm very proud of this if I can remember it. It was something I did recently. Yes, remember I came upstairs and I told you I just lost a whole 112-page chapter? So this hasn't happened in years, you know. Computers don't crash anymore, at least I thought. And I don't have backup because I'm so courageous. I like to live on the edge, so I have no backup on my computer either. And I lost the chapter. It was just gone. Okay, 16 pages were there and the rest was gone. So I went and told Bonnie, and Bonnie has a sense of what it's like. She, oh my God, that's terrible. I said, well, we don't know for sure yet. See, that's masculinity. Yeah. We don't know for sure what the future is going to bring, so let's hold off from being upset. There's nothing I can do about what happened in the past because that's already happened. So let's wait. This is like pure power. This is what masculine power is. You don't get upset about anything. Anything that happens is water under the bridge. Nothing you can do about it. All you can do is learn from it and do something good. Don't worry about it. Because you don't know that's going to happen yet either. Oh, yes, I do know. No, you don't. You do not know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen the next second. Who knows? The sky could open. Money could come downhill. Whatever. So that is pure masculine energy. No emotion. It's detachment. It's what Buddha taught. It's what Hinduism taught. It's what men were taught for centuries with initiations. It would sound like torture. You know, the American Indians, they put these little sticks. Boy hit 13, get sticks through his breast, tie a rope to it, throw it over a limb, and hoist him up into the air all day long without him crying out. That was his male initiation. I had a guy at one of my seminars come and show everybody his scars. This really happens. All kinds of stuff. What's that?
Sundance.
Sundance?
It's a sun dancer.
He's a sun dancer.
Right.
And then another thing, you go off and do 7 days where you're out in the heat and you burn. And we were talking to one initiate guy, and they didn't even give him water. And he has to go out there, and he has no cloth to cover him to protect him against the desert. He burns to death. You survive those things. If you survive that, you have nothing to worry about after that. It's like, I've been through some terrible stuff in my life, as you know. So when bad things happen, I go, that's nothing. I got nothing like that. It gives you a place to go back to. Now, that's barbaric. Okay, that's barbaric. We have new skills for learning how to develop a detachment. And one of the most powerful skills to develop detachment. It takes training. You build up to it, so it's not like horrible. It's called marriage. When your wife's upset and you start to take it personally, you practice detachment. As opposed to what everybody's being taught, well, now share your feelings. Feelings, detachment. One's masculine. It's meditation. Buddha is like give up desire, give up attachment, be open. It's my years of meditation. I have tremendous power of detachment. Whereas for women, it's the power of attachment. That's what love is. You know, all this detachment stuff, bullshit. Excuse me. But it's like, my dinner was fantastic tonight. It was delicious. I just wanted more and more. The beer was better. But then to detach is to say, okay, let it go. Now move on. So we have to be able to attach and let go. Attach and let go. And then you're in the moment all the time. It's masculine and feminine together. Oh, I got applause.
That's
Who will second that applause? Okay, I'll take that. So my time is running thin. So to finish that point on men, they get so burnt out thinking that I have the power to make her happy, when most of the time their power that they're using is just making her more unhappy. So here's the training that we go through, is to learn. Our job has never been throughout history to make women happy. It's all fairy tale stuff. Our job was to provide safety and comfort for women. That was it. Nobody cared about happiness. Happiness you can't even find it in ancient literature. This is some modern new thing, because when you're experiencing masculine and feminine balance, you have ecstasy, you have happiness, you have joy, but prior to this, happiness was not a part of people's lives. It's not a big, people weren't seeking happiness, and they were have a certain level of contentment for sure. But men were not like all wrapped up into, okay, I'm going to make my wife happy, I'm going to make my wife happy. He really just wanted to have a wife who didn't complain. He did his job, she did her job, and they didn't complain that much. And so what would happen is the man was not attached to his wife being unhappy, and when she would be unhappy, which wasn't that much because she didn't really depend on men for much, except if he did his job, she was basically happy with him. So today, we fall in love, we experience like massive amounts of ecstasy. Falling in love is something that was very rare in the past. Romeo and Juliet kind of ushered that in, and we hold them as this romantic couple, but they died the day after they got married. It would not have lasted, it was a fantasy. And everybody knew that in those days. So this whole idea that men should make women happy, it's our romantic myth. But what we can do as men is provide a new level of safety for women that they need more than food. They can get their own food. They can protect themselves. What they need is a new level of emotional safety. And emotional safety means to understand her primary needs to express herself. Because what I saw is that women would come to me as a therapist feeling completely safe to share how they feel, and they would feel better. They could share anything. And to be able to get to the place in a relationship where your partner feels safe to share their authentic self, good and bad, is the greatest gift a man can give to a woman. Because she doesn't know she needs it, but when I talk about women, go, yes, I want that safety. And I'll finish my talk, and I'll be talking again what's more about the hormones and behaviors that can stimulate the hormones and so forth in my next talk. But I'm going to end because it was a moment that Bonnie said something that changed my life and changed a lot of other people's lives. And I share it. It was like 25 years into our marriage, and I asked Bonnie, so how do you rate me as a husband? No, feeling pretty proud of myself. Probably just had sex or something. It was in the kitchen. But and we were having a nice conversation. Probably that morning we had sex, but whatever. And she said, I give you A+ as father to our children, A+. But as a husband, you're not a perfect guy. But you've given me the greatest gift any woman could ever want. And I went, okay, what's that? And she says, I know that I can say things and do things that really, really upset you. And when you get upset or angry, you'll stop talking, you'll go to your cave, you do some magic, and you come out and you're always more loving. So I know there's nothing I can do to push you out of my life. And that's the greatest gift. Thank you. And thank you very much. She didn't realize it at that moment that I went, oh, okay, so I don't have to make her happy anymore. I just have to make her feel safe. And so we're going to learn all the ways to help women feel safe. And of course, one of those things we'll get to is why, men, you've got to learn a new way to manage anger without expressing it out loud to her. Because you can be angry, that's your female side. But when you have a negative female side popping up, that's the time to go back and rebuild your male side. And when women, you're overwhelmed, you're too busy, you're too far on your male side. So you have to know what you can do that's powerful, that can bring you back to your female side, so you can find the balance and the peace inside your life, and find your inner happiness that can help bring out the best in him as well. So once again, if you love my talk, really let me know. woman. Come on in. Here's my lovely wife. Give her a big hand. Okay. So, there he is. Here's my man. Okay.
Thank you so much, John and Bonnie Gray, ladies and gentlemen.